But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain, and they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball
combined. He made it all the way from Culver City, yes, Culver City, to Cooperstown, Gary Carter. You started the chant in Baltimore. That chant's in Cooperstown. One of the greatest switch hitters of all time, Eddie Murray. He went on to become the captain of our country as well. Joining us, a guest of the Carter family. Please welcome back former President George Bush.
His mom and dad are both Army officers. I'm a lieutenant colonel, so is my wife.
Crowd control.
Yeah. We're proud of your son, too, sir.
This is the Hall of Famers. This is returning class for 2003. And let's begin with a guy who accomplished a lot on the baseball field, but he accomplished a heck of a lot more off the baseball field. He won 224 games as a major leaguer. He was a leader as a player. He's a leader in our country. Let's welcome the senator from the state of Kentucky, Jim Bunning. 100 wins in both the American League and the National League. Only 1,000 walks in 17 years. And one of the outstanding contributors to our game, Jim Bunning. Home run swing all the way to Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame. Let's welcome still a New York Mets broadcaster, Ralph Kiner. Number 4 led the league, or tied for the league lead in home runs 7 straight years. He hit 54 homers in 49. And Ralph, congratulations, a statue unveiled in his honor in Pittsburgh this year. And he even gets a bobblehead doll from the Mets. How about that, Ralph Kiner? Ralph's career ended a little bit early. Our next Hall of Famer's career, Kaline. Number 6 had 10 Gold Gloves, 18 All-Star appearances. And in 1971, we talk about playing good defense through your whole career. At the age of 36 in 1971, this right fielder who was playing every day made no errors. Zippo, no errors all season. Al Kaline. 34, Raleigh Fingers. The MVP of the 74 series, 341 saves for his career. In 1981, the AL MVP and the Cy Young Award winner from Milwaukee, Raleigh Fingers. Raleigh, of course, had over 3 hits. Number 31. 7 times he won 20 games. He won the Cy in 1971 when he had 24 victories. Ferguson Jenkins. Fergie made everyone in his native Canada proud when he was elected and inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Our next Hall of Famer, he made all of us proud when he took a bunch of guys who no one thought had a great chance of winning a gold medal. But he took them to gold medal territory, winning an Olympic gold medal. After a brilliant career as a manager in the majors, Tommy Lasorda got a gold medal in the Olympics too. 20 years with the Dodgers, 1,599 wins, 2 World Series titles, and 8 National League West championships. Tommy served his country at the Olympics. Our next Hall of Famer, Rapid Robert Bob Feller. He won 5 campaign ribbons when he was in the service. He led the American League in strikeouts 7 times, 3 no-hitters, and 12 one-hitters. Bob Feller. Our next Hall of Famer didn't throw years in the front office. American League, Lee McPhail. Hard to believe it, it was 40 years ago that our next Hall of Famer led the American League in home runs. All he had was 573 rounds as well. Harmon Killebrew. Number 3, hit 40 or more homers 8 times. 1969, he was the American League most valuable player. Harmon Killebrew. Our next Hall of Famer was the band for the Yankees. Imagine, 40 years ago, he won 24 games, was 24-7. As usual, his ERA was under 3. And by the time it all wrapped up, this man had the #1 winning percentage from the year 1900 on. Ford. Number 16 won the Cy in 61. 3 times he led the American League in victories. Number 16, Whitey Ford. Whitey was known as the chairman of the board. Our next Hall of Famer's dad was simply known as Bull. That was in Puerto Rico. So when he came to the United States, what did they call him? They called him Baby Bull. You can call him Cha-Cha. Whatever else you want to call him. He's a Hall of Famer, Orlando Cepeda. 1958, he was the Rookie of the Year. 67, he was the MVP. And a 6-time All-Star. Orlando Cepeda. 30 years ago, 1973, our next Hall of Famer was the most valuable player of the World Series. It was just the start of the nickname that would carry him right to today. They called him Mr. October. Reggie Jackson joins us today. 563 homers, 10 World Series homers in only 27 games. Reggie. Same year, Reggie won the World Series MVP. Our next Hall of Famer won the first of what would be 3 Cy Young Awards. Hey, you know, the Oriole family knows him well. Simply number 22. The smooth motion. The perfect delivery. Jim Palmer. 268 wins, 8-time 20 wins, and those 3 Cy Young Awards. Baltimore fans were treated to a lot of great players, including Jim and Eddie, who we'll honor today. New York fans were treated to one of the greatest shortstops of all time, one of the greatest personalities that our game has ever known. Not just a great player, a great broadcaster as well. A man who they simply called the Scooter. Number 10, Phil Rizzuto. 1950, most valuable player in the American League. Hit 324, had 200 hits, and a 5-time All-Star. Phil Rizzuto, the Scooter. By the way, let's give him an even bigger round of applause. Phil, his wife Cora, celebrating their 60th anniversary this year. Holy cow, you huckleberry. 20 years ago, our next Hall of Famer wrapped up his career. And when he did, he had more than 300 victories. He wound up with 314. He still loves this game. And I'm sure he still has a little bottle of Vaseline tucked away somewhere. Gaylord Perry. First to win a Cy Young in both leagues, 314 wins, 5 times 20 victories. Gaylord Perry. 10 years ago, our next Hall of Famer was the All-Star MVP, and we thought we'd get a chance to watch him for a whole lot longer than we did. Unfortunately, an injury to the retina in his eye prevented his career from being even greater. But boy, it was a great one as it was. Let's welcome back Kirby Puckett. 10 straight All-Star teams, 6 times the Gold Glove winner, and wound up a .318 average for his career with 200 home runs. Kirby bucket. Great to have you back, Kirk. Kirby won 6 Gold Gloves. Our next Hall of Famer won 10. And Sparky said it about as well as you could. There was nobody better behind the plate. He's a leader. He's a great defensive player, a great offensive player. Let's welcome back JB, Johnny Bench. Number 5, played for 17 years, 68 Rookie of the Year, 2-time MVP. And he caught 100 games, 13 straight years. 13 straight, 100 games. And he's still walking pretty good. JB finished with 389 career home runs, and we've got some great home run catchers that are gathered here this weekend. We'll talk more about them as the day progresses. Our next Hall of Famer wound up with 465 by the time he finished. He's a great baseball player. He could have been a great football player. He could have been a great basketball player in the pros. Fortunately for us, he chose baseball. Let's welcome back Winnie, Dave Winfield. 7 times a Gold Glove winner, 12 times an All-Star, 22 years in Major League Baseball, Dave Winfield. Here's the numbers for you: 72, 77, 80, and 82. Now don't play those numbers in the lottery. Those are the years that this man won the Cy Young Award. 4 of them. They called him Lefty. Steve Carlton. Number 32, 6 times a 20-game winner, 329 victories, and over 4,000 strikeouts, Steve Carlton. 40 years ago, 1963, our next Hall of Famer was the All-Star MVP. Whenever the light was on, whenever the pressure was on, he played his best. Who is the greatest player of all time? I don't think any one of us can answer that question. But who is the most exciting player that any one of us ever saw patrol center field wearing number 24 on his back? The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. Rookie of the Year in 51, 2-time MVP, 11 gold, 24 All-Star appearances, 660 home runs. Willie played in 24 All-Star games. Our next Hall of Famer played for 24 years. And when it was all over, he had 300 victories, yes. And he had people swinging at everything and anything to try to catch up to his knuckleball. You couldn't, because number 35 had one of the best knuckleballs of all time. Let's welcome back Phil Niekro. 5-time All-Star. 30 years ago, pitched a no-hitter against San Diego. 45 shutouts and 49 shutout losses. Great competitor, Phil Niekro. Nuxie pitched in 3 different decades. Our next Hall of Famer won batting titles in 3 decades. No one's ever done that. And again, no one ever hit like this guy. From the Kansas City Royals, George Brett. 1976, 1980, 1990. 12 times an All-Star. Those were his 3 years for a batting title. George Brett. George was one of the best pure hitters of all time. Our next Hall of Famer was one of the greatest base stealers of all time. What a great combination of power and speed. And still to this day, he's honored with the base stealing title in the National League named in his honor. Let's welcome back Lou Brock of the St. Louis Cardinals. 938 stolen bases, led the National League 8 times. No one has more than his 14 World Series stolen bases. No one has more stolen bases than Lou, and no one ever did what this guy did. He was the man to win a World Series championship in the National League with Cincinnati, in the American League with Detroit. His name says it all. He's the spark of baseball, Sparky Anderson. 2,194 wins, number 3 all time. 26 years with Cincinnati and Detroit. Sparky Anderson. Let's go back, hard to believe, 40 years. One of the greatest games that anyone who was there would ever see. a 1-0 16-inning ball game. Warren Spahn, Juan Marichal, 0-0 into the 16 before that guy hits a home run off Spahny, and he got a win for our next Hall of Famer. Number 27, Juan Marichal. 243 wins, 6 times 20 victories. 40 years ago, pitched a no-hitter against Houston and a 10-time All-Star. The Dominican dandy, Juan Marichal. All our next Hall of Famer ever wanted to do was play second base for the St. Louis Cardinals, his hometown team. He never got there, but boy, did he provide a lot of joy for all of us, because he was one of the greatest managers of all time. He managed those Oriole teams of Eddie Murray. Let's welcome back Earl Weaver. 17 years, won over 1,400 games, 6 AL East titles, 4 pennants, and a 1970 World Series championship. The Earl of Baltimore, Earl Weaver. Earl didn't make it as a second baseman, but our next Hall of Famer sure did. Dazzlin' Maz, Bill Mazeroski from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Came up at the age of 19, won a Gold Glove 2 years later, an 8-time Gold Glove winner. Led the National League in assists 9 times. No one ever turned a double play faster than Maz. Bill Mazeroski. From one great second baseman to another, hard to believe this guy's still wearing a uniform 59 years after he put one on. One of the greatest St. Louis Cardinals, one of the greatest men that we'll honor in baseball, the redhead Red Schoendienst. 6 times led the National League second baseman in fielding percentage, a great manager and a great coach too, Red Schoendienst. Our next Hall of Famer, what a swing. The sweet swing. The sweet swinger from Whistler, Alabama, Billy Williams. Number 26 was the 1961 Rookie of the Year. 1972 he won the battle title, 6-time All-Star and over 400 home runs. Billy Williams from Mobile. Billy was a 6-time All-Star. Our next Hall of Famer was a 12-time All-Star. No one ever combined offense and defense in a more perfect way at third base. You talk about baseball, you talk about the greats, you talk about this man. Let's welcome back from the Philadelphia Phillies, Mike Schmidt. Sporting News named him the player of the 80s, and rightly so. 3-time MVP, 10 Gold Gloves, and over 500 home runs. Mike Schmidt, Schmitty. Schmitty was a big home run hitter. This guy didn't hit a lot of home runs, but he beat you in every other way you could imagine. One of the greatest pure hitters of all time, Rodney Carew. Number 29, won 7 batting titles, hit over 315 times, was the Rookie of the Year in '67, the MVP in '77. Our next Hall of Famer could beat you with his bat too, but usually it was his right arm that beat you, because that right arm was terrific. In fact, we just called him Tom Terrific. Number 41 from the Mets. Number 41 from the Reds. Number 41 for all of us. 3 Cy Young Awards, including one 30 years ago. 10 straight years of 200 strikeouts. Tom Seaver. Tom had 9 straight years of 200 plus strikeouts. Our next Hall of Famer had a streak too. All I have to do is say 16 in a row. Lee May said it during the World Series, didn't he, in 1970? This guy's like a vacuum cleaner, like a Hoover. Brooks Robinson, 16 straight Gold Gloves. MVP in '64, 15 straight All-Star appearances too. Brooks Robinson. You deserve it, Brooksy. "60 years ago, the Detroit Free Press named our next Hall of Famer the best basketball player in the state of Michigan. Fortunately for all of us, Not only did he play basketball at Michigan State, but he wound up playing baseball too. And he wound up with the Philadelphia Phil's Whiz Kids. Let's welcome back number 36, Robin Roberts. 286 wins, 6 straight 20-win seasons. Robin Roberts. Robin Roberts and Richie Ashburn were the heart and the soul of that Whiz Kids group of 1950s. And this man, this Hall of Famer, was the inspiration, the man that kept the Big Red Machine together in Cincinnati for the Reds. One of the greatest competitors, one of the greatest teammates that anyone would ever have. Let's welcome back Tony Perez. Number 24 was a 7-time All-Star, 67 MVP, and set the record for runs batted in by a Latin player, Tony Perez. Our next Hall of Famer was a leader too, and you know Bob Uecker called a couple of big hits that he had over the years. Let's welcome back Rockin' Robin Yount from Milwaukee. 2-time MVP, most hits in the 80s, number 19, a special player. Back again. Welcome back, Robin. Robin won 2 MVPs. Our next Hall of Famer won 3 of them. Another guy who at one time held the record for home runs by a catcher. Another man who still is beloved throughout the game of baseball today. Let's welcome back Yogi Berra. Number 8 won an MVP in 51, 54, and 55. 15 straight All-Star appearances too. Our next Hall of Famer was an All-Star as well. He wasn't a Yogi. He was a wizard. Let's welcome back the wizard, Ozzie Smith. Osborne Earl, 13 Gold Gloves, over 24 hits, 580 stolen bases. Ozzie held 6 major fielding titles when he eventually packed it in. Our next Hall of Famer, whether he wore 27 with the Red Sox or 72 for the White Sox, when he retired, he was number 1 on the list of games caught by a catcher. Let's welcome back Pudge Carlton Fisk. 10 years ago, he set the catching record in '93, an 11-time All-Star, 24 years a Major Leaguer. 40 years ago, our next Hall of Famer tied for the league lead in home runs with the Hammer, Henry Aaron. They both wound up with 44. It so happens to be that number 44 was the number that he wore on his back too. Boy, was he menacing at the plate. A gentle giant of a man, and it's great to have him back, bad knees and all. Let's welcome back Stretch Willie McCovey. 59 Rookie of the Year, 69 MVP. 18 Grand Slams through his career. It's good to have Stretch back. Our next Hall of Famer could hit too. It was 41 years ago this month that he hit his 31st home run as a pitcher. You know him more for his pitching exploits because he's the winningest left-hander of all time. He goes back to Bob Uecker too, doesn't he? Let's welcome back Warren Spahn, Spahny. .363 wins, 13 times 20 victories, and the most wins in the 70s. He still controls the game, doesn't he? Hard to believe he's retired, right? He still holds the record for most innings pitched in the National League. Warren Spahn. As a lefty, nobody was better. Spahny was durable. and still holds that record for innings pitched. Our next Hall of Famer was durable too. He never missed a start in 24 years of pitching. Let's welcome back Don Sutton, the 300-game winner. Number 21, 324, over 3,500 strikeouts, 4 times an All-Star. On this day, we honor so many memories, so many people, so many moments. We cherish the people who were so much a part of our game. We were robbed, not able to see so many black ball players who played in the Negro Leagues. We were fortunate enough to see this man for a brief period of time. We saw him on the field, and he was a leader. And even after he retired, he joined the commissioner's office and remains a leader today. Let's welcome back, from the Newark baseball tradition, Monty Irvin. He played with the Newark Eagles for 10 years, made it to the majors, and helped the Giants to the World Series. Monty Irvin. Branch Rickey knew that Monty had something special. In fact, at one time, his design was have Monty be the first to break the color barrier because he had that leadership quality. This man had something special too. As a leader with a Big Red Machine, he was an MVP winner. As a leader now, he's a member of the board of directors here at the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest baseball players ever to play, but a great man as well. Let's welcome back Little Joe Morgan. Number 8, 2-time MVP winner in 75 and 76. Ladies and gentlemen, again, let's welcome back our returning Hall of Famers for 2003.